The dopest motherfucker alive. Whoa, I gotta be the dopest motherfucker alive. Whoa, good God, I'm so great. When I walk, the whole earth shakes. I'm like,
only in this point. Oh, let me hide that. What are we doing here? Hide that. Oh. There we go. Guys, welcome back to Next Bus Please. I'm your host, your boy Blunt. Today I am joined by David Kazanski, and we are going to be talking about the Tier 6 program and what it is. But before we start that, welcome David. Salut. Got to drink my little apple juice, people. How you doing, David? What's going on, man? Tell the people who you are.
So I'm a public school teacher in the Bronx in New York City, and I started back in 1995. I started teaching, and I started working for the union after school, doing some pension consultations. They taught us kind of how to do pension consultations. So I would see UFT members, and I would kind of tell them what their pension would look like, and so on. As years went on, I left the classroom, started working for the UFT. Did that for about 19 years. Spent the last spent 9 of those years as a trustee on the board for the New York City Teachers Retirement System. So that's of all the city retirement systems, that's the one I know the best. But I'm familiar with NYCERS and BERS as well, and so I know you guys are part of NYCERS.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I would have been happy to stay with the union and do that work for a little while, but me and the president of the UFT didn't get along, and we got a little paranoid, and next thing you know, I'm out. But we take these things and we make do with them. And so I'm here. I ran for trustee to get back on the TRS board this year. That didn't work out. It came close, but not close enough. And now I'm just trying to help people all throughout the city understand their pension a little bit better, and especially what the changes are in Tier 6.
Right, because we just recently had some changes made to the Tier 6 program, but let's start from the beginning. Do you know why this tier was implemented?
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of us don't know. So,
So what wound up happening is that back in 2008, 2009, the stock market kind of crashed. There was that whole global financial crisis where, you know, big investment bankers and investment firms like Lehman Brothers and stuff fell apart, and everybody was invested in housing, and the housing market dropped out. And with that, the stock market tanked about 30, 40%. So people were looking at like their 401ks and their retirement accounts going south. And that affects not just individual people, but it affects cities and states and municipalities like New York. And so the folks up in Albany started to get nervous that the pension fund was costing too much money, and they wanted to create a new tier that was cheaper for them to have to pay out into. Um, Thankfully, the New York State Constitution does not allow them to reduce benefits to people who are already promised, right? So the New York State Constitution says, I believe the exact language is like, public pension is a contractual arrangement and benefits cannot be impaired or diminished. So they couldn't do anything to the people in tier four. They couldn't do anything to the people in tier five. What they decided, and anybody who got hired after tier six was created got kind of folded into that. And that was Cuomo's big thing. And he'd been talking about it for a year or so before it became real. But right around now, back in 2012, when the budget was,
I'm like, wait a minute, what happened here?
yeah, when the when the state budget was being put together, at the last minute, Cuomo kind of threw tier six into the mix and basically told all the legislators up in Albany, you either vote for this or the stuff you want in your areas, I'm not going to support and we'll have a problem and so on. And so they put it through. Um, the thing about tier six that angers me is just that they took everything that was in tier four, which is the tier that most people in New York City were, that they took tier four and they said everything about tier four, how can we make that thing worse?
It's the worst. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it really, they left no stone unturned to figure out what they could take that was already in tier four and make it worse. I've got a slide um, in the deck I'll show you later that like lists every single thing that like they messed with in tier six, and it's amazing. They changed the contribution rates and made it higher and for longer. They took the early retirement reduction and nearly doubled it to make it twice as bad. They raised the retirement age for most folks, not for, thankfully, MTA. You guys were able to keep 55-25, but most people I work with in tier six, there's no years of service that get you out early without a retirement reduction. And the earliest you can retire with no reduction for like teachers and paras and school psychologists is 63. And so they just made
I
some
think
changes in
not
tier six.
right, not to cuff you up, but I think that's the retirement for tier six and us with us too, 63. If
Yeah.
I'm not wrong, you guys can correct me. You already know, right? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So anybody who isn't in the 25-55 that you guys are in that 63 and however many years of service. And this
Yeah.
new change that just got put through a couple weeks ago or a week ago was to allow folks to retire, at least teachers in New York City and New York State, to retire as young as 58. And if they have 30 years of service, then they can skip that reduction and have a better retirement. But it's still not good enough. And teachers in New York City and New York State didn't get the contribution reduction that you all got, lowering the amount you contribute to the pension fund over your lifetime too. So
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, we have been to. Well, I have participated at least once myself, Albany a couple of times to try to see if they can fix tier six or roll it back to tier four or whatever. But like it's like talking to the wall. You know, we go up there a couple of every year, and it's like nothing. You know, and I'm from what I understand, it's not that simple. It's a legislative thing. You can't just fix it like that. So you can't expand on that because I can't really explain what that is.
sure. So any changes that happen to tier six have to be made up in Albany, passed through the state assembly, the state senate, signed by the governor, and all that stuff. The problem and the reason why nobody can just snap their fingers and fix it is every change, no matter how small, costs millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
Mm-hmm.
So like um, this last tier six change, I think costs around $550 million
Oof.
that
Wow.
the city and state have to figure out how they're going to pay for it, right? And so they work that into the budget so that they could make that happen.
Wow, that's
But
that.
if they wanted to like fix everything in tier six, then we're talking probably like in the billions of dollars.
Jeez. So see, guys, it's not how you say, it's not just a waste of time going to Albany, especially if you want to fix tier six. The more people that can go, the more noise you can make, the more effectiveness you can have, because it's not going to be simple. Like you heard David said, we need them in Albany to crack down on it, and you see what the money that they're talking about, right? So when it comes to that kind of money, it's never going to be an easy fix. But if you don't go, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons that I think we got what we got this year is there was really a big mobilization around it with a lot of the unions. There was that big rally up in Albany that did a lot of good work to make the politicians understand that we were serious about wanting some big changes. They made some small changes in previous
Mm-hmm.
years, and in 2022, something in 2024. But this is really the biggest change to Tier 6 since it's been around 14 years, 16, 14 years. Yeah.
Right. So, and speaking of the changes, I know you're the UTF, right? But I have here the graphic for the changes they did to the MTA side of things,
Right.
and so we can go over that right now.
Yep.
But everybody should be able to see on their screen now. This is the graphic that MTA sent out to everybody. Okay, here it is. It's up there now. So we could go over it one by one. Yeah. Yeah, one by one. Let's go. Do your thing, David.
So yeah,
Okay,
so
you see?
like I said, the 25-55 thing is pretty incredible that you guys were able to keep that in tier six and maintain it through to now. I think that's incredible stuff for your people in your union. Um, the folks in my union, like I said, don't have anything like that in tier six. In tier four, which uh, the last time there was a 55-25 thing in tier four for like the teachers, that was in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And when tier six came around in 2012, anybody new didn't get a 55-25. Like I said, those teachers, those paras, those school secretaries, everybody that works in a school that's tied into one of the pension plans has to work till 63 if they want to get a pension that isn't reduced. And if they retire younger than that, they're going to get a reduction. And thankfully, there's some new language in Tier 6 that helps those folks in New York City and New York State teachers' retirement systems. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all fighting for what you guys have as far as 55-25, which is a great, you know, a great combination of years of service and age to be able to do the work you're going to do for the city of New York and do the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
help the people of the city and make sure that the city runs and still be able to be young enough, hopefully healthy enough, and have enough money to live a good life in retirement. So yeah, that's huge. The
Yeah.
vesting period,
I was gonna
that
say, unfortunately for bus operators, the lifespan after retirement is only about 3 years. So
no, for real?
yes, that's the expectancy. That's what they tell you once they bring you in. Your life expectancy. Some people don't even make it to that point. So yeah, it's crazy.
Did not know that, man.
Yeah.
That's,
So the next line is vesting period is 10 years,
so
which
yeah, so
is
that actually started before Tier 6. That was sometime in, I think it was 2009, 2010,
Right.
where they upped the vesting period to 10 years for new people coming in. People came in on Tier 6, that was kind of already built in. Um, and so what that meant was that you had to have either 10 years of membership or 10 years of service, so you could move some service in if you
Mm-hmm.
transferred it or bought some back or whatever the case. But you had to have 10 years in order to get a pension at all.
Mm.
Um, and in 2022, they changed that and brought it down so that everybody in tier 4, 5, and 6, it's only 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you could come, you could work for 5 years, you could split, go do something else with your life, go work something, work in the private industry, work for another whatever, go to another state, and at some point come back and at least you'd be entitled to a pension. It wouldn't be a heck of a lot, doing only 5 years worth of work.
Right.
You're guaranteed something, which
Right.
is pretty good. Otherwise, if you don't hit the vesting period, um, there's a certain amount of years that the retirement system is going to hold on to it before they force you to take it out and spend it yourself or save it yourself and do something with it.
Do you know if that is retroactive? Because so many people had to go 10 years to be fully vested, and
Yeah,
now
no.
it's not.
When the law got changed in 2022, whoever was in the pension system at that time, uh, they are it
So
affected
from
them. But if you had already left, it doesn't affect
right. So from 2022 on.
you. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, me, I ended up. I did about 9 years and 8 months before I ended up leaving.
Oh wow.
So I was just about right there. So now they talk about the final average salary calculation,
Yeah.
which used to be 5 years. Now
Right.
it's the best on 3.
Yeah. So for the final average salary, what they used to do, they did with tier 4, and what they changed in tier 6, it used to be a 3-year window, right? So they would basically go, for most people, from like the date of your retirement and go back 3 years and look at
Mm.
all the money that you got paid in that particular period of time, divide that by 3, and that would be the salary by which your percentage of whatever you were going to get for your pension was based on.
Mm.
Uh, when Tier 6 came around, they expanded that to 5. Now, everybody knows the larger of a period of time that they're looking at how much money you earn. You earn more towards the end, less towards the beginning. So the longer they made that period from 3 years to 5 years, they started working lower salaries into the mix. And so your pension was going to get, your final average salary is going to get watered down.
Mm.
5-year final average salary rather than a 3-year salary. And so in 2024, 2 years ago, they changed that and they upped that and they made it 3 years final average salary across the board for everybody.
Right. So what I used to hear on the job was because we had the 5-year plan, but it was the best 3 out of the 5. So
Right.
it didn't matter. It's just whatever best 3 you had, they used that to calculate.
Yeah. Yeah. For
Right.
most people, it is the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, like, and so I keep talking about teachers, but that's my world.
Mm-hmm. No, that's yeah.
Like, we have principals that make more than teachers, right? And so if a principal decides they don't want to be a principal anymore and they want to go back into the classroom, they can do that. They're going to make less money. But if they retire, the retirement system can say, oh, well, look, you made more money in this 3-year window than the most recent 3-year window. So we're going to use this one because that's better for you and you can get a better
Right.
retirement calculation out of that. So, so that's ultimately what I think all the retirement systems do.
Yeah, that's only fair.
Yeah.
Now it says the overtime contribution rates changed. So the original Tier 6 says overtime could push members into higher percentage contribution brackets. And the change was the overtime is excluded from moving workers into higher bands, I think that is. Yeah.
Yeah. So the contribution rate that they use, the whatever salary they use to determine how much you kick into the pension, I think when the law was originally written, they didn't differentiate between your base salary or your total income from your employer, including overtime and other stuff like that. So they kind of clarified that in the years since, where they said that only your base salary, only your contractual salary, no overtime, no extra pay, that's used to determine whether you put in 3% or 4% or 5.25% or whatever it is
Right.
for you. So that's good because you don't want to get punished for putting in a lot of overtime
Right.
and all of a sudden have to pay in more to the pension plan.
Yeah, 'cause
So
we had a lot of people at our depot who would get capped per se, and because once you hit a certain amount, that's it. You can't do any more overtime. And I think believe it was, for what I remember, for us it was 120. Once you
mhm,
hit 120K, you couldn't pick up any more extra pieces, any more overtime, or nothing. You
oh
just had to
wow.
rock out the rest of the year. So yeah, I'm like, I wish I was one of those that can make that, say
Yeah, it
now.
sounds like a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good problem to have. And then down the last one is pensionable overtime limit. The original was pensionable overtime capped at 15,000 above pay. Yeah, and now the new one has increased from 21,589. I don't know where they get that number,
Yeah,
but okay, 21,589 to 30,000 and increased by 3% annually afterwards. I
right.
have no idea what the hell I just said.
I don't blame you. So yeah, so basically what they're basically trying to do is limit the amount of overtime that's going to count towards your final average salary. So that way, you don't there's this thing that is called pension spiking, right? And politicians get real nervous about it and like fiscal conservatives get really worked up about it where they don't like it if somebody in the out years of their career before they're going to retire just piles on the overtime so that they can get a really big pension, right?
Hmm.
That's not the right way to go about it, and so they put caps on it. They do that for teachers too. We have a rule. We have a like a 10% rule that basically says that no year that's used for your final average salary can be more than 10%, can have more than 10% more than the 2 years previous combined,
Mm.
or some nonsense. Um, and it's really just about making sure that somebody doesn't go, oh, I'm retiring in 3 years, scoops up all the overtime, right? And instead of getting a pension that would be $60,000, gets a pension that's $150,000 a year. Now the state's on the hook for that, or the city's on the hook for that.
There's a lot of that going around in transit. People, we call them people who have papers in their pockets. They about to retire.
Yeah,
They'll grab the biggest run they can grab and just work out the rest of the years like that. The best 3 years, make that the best 3 years, so their
yeah.
pension goes way up like that. Yeah. All right. So yeah, man. I mean, so far so good. I'm learning a lot right now. You know,
Yeah.
we can go into your chart
Oh,
if
sure.
you would like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me get that. Let me get that set up here. It's a screen share. There you go. All right. Okay, so guys, David has been kind enough to work on a chart for us to help explain this tier 6 that we got going on here. So I'll leave it to you. Go ahead,
All right.
Mr. David.
So, um, one thing I pulled from the AFL-CIO website was kind of their priorities for fixing Tier 6, right? To making Tier 6 more equitable for everybody. And so I'm going to go through this and talk about what's bad and what's bad about Tier 6 and how Tier 6 kind of changed these things. So the first thing that they wanted to do was reduce and standardize employee contributions. So one of the things when I first started in the 90s and Tier 4 was around was you had to put in 3% a year for 10 years, and then you were good, right? So 3% of my salary for the first 10 years of my membership in the retirement system went to help fund the pension. Once I cleared 10 years, I kept that money. And what I did with that money was I invested it in some other retirement fund so that I could have more money when I wanted to retire.
Right.
As certain things changed in Tier 4, at least for New York City TRS members, their contributions got changed a little bit. What happened in Tier 6 is that they made it a 3% to 6% sliding scale. And the more money you made, the higher the contributions you had to kick in to the pension fund. So once you cleared, I think it was $100,000, right? You had to kick in 6% of your annual salary to the pension fund, and it was for life. Like, that's the one thing about Tier 6 that, again, well, I mean, there's a million things that I don't know.
Right.
One thing that bothers me is it's like there's no reprieve from it at all. You just are stuck making these contributions and making these contributions forever until you retire. And so if you're working 30 years or 35 years or whatever it may be, you're kicking in a lot of money that you could be doing other things with. So that's one thing. And even if they just decided to make it standard where everybody pays the same percentage at least, right? And that's one thing. But they have this weird sliding scale that just kind of makes things more annoying.
So so let's say one year you make about 125, and the scale slides all the way over to 6%. But the next year you make only 90,000. Did the scale come back down, or it stays at 6%?
Yeah, that's the stuff we were talking about before, where how much you have to contribute is based on your base salary.
Oh, okay.
So it's not. So if the overtime fluctuates and goes up and down, that's not going to change your percentage that you have to contribute.
Okay.
But if your base salary for some reason changes,
Right. Okay.
from one title to another, one job assignment to another, and there's a pay disparity there, that could affect it.
Okay. All right. Just clearing that up.
Yeah, no worries. To restore the ability for everybody in Tier 6 to retire at age 55 with 30 years of service. So that doesn't exist right now. We got something better at it. We got something better than what we had, that 58-30 I was talking about before, which is going to help a lot of people, but doesn't help everybody. So that'll be good. The cap on overtime that we talked about is something that is beneficial. The state AFL-CIO also wanted to eliminate the Social Security offset. That didn't get changed. A lot of this stuff did not. Like, these were the priorities for the state, but we really didn't get much of them, right? We got a couple things. The contributions got lowered a little bit, and some of the other members in other systems got the 58-30, but it's really all that kind of went this round. Lower penalties on pension benefits for retiring prior to normal age, right? So normal age in Tier 6 is 63. But if you don't hit, so like for my people in the teachers, right? So if you're a UFT teacher and you put in 29 years of service and you want to retire at age 55, right? They're going to calculate whatever your pension is going to be based on the years you worked and the final average salary, and then they're going to reduce it by 52%.
Oof.
Right? That's more than half.
Yes.
So whatever they have for you, they take that and they chop more than half off, keep it for themselves, and give you the little that remains. And that's the thing that like is the kick in the face for so many folks is that if you put in all these years, like if you retire with 29 years of service, you should be all right, like financially for retirement. And the way tier six is written, you're not. You're going to get less than half of what you would have been entitled to get had that rule not have been in place. So that's something that is definitely something that if I could pick, lowering the retirement penalties would be the thing. For me, that's the most important to change.
Yeah, I mean that's highway robbery. you
Yeah,
know, they take. I mean, 20%, 15, 52%.
yeah. I mean,
I
and you
mean,
compare that to what people in tier four, the worst reduction you could get in tier four is 27%,
see, in the 20s. Yeah, I mean,
right?
that's
27.
even
So you lose a quarter. All right,
right,
but to lose
right,
over half, that's not.
right. No, I mean, I don't even think the IRS does that. Take over
Yeah.
half of your. That's crazy. That would make me upset. Well, let me ask you. So let's say you retire at 29 from one job that qualifies you for your pension, but you have other another agency, another city agency job that you worked at before, and where they tack that in at the end. Does that affect it in any way?
So you have options in those circumstances. So let's say you were driving you were operating a bus and you did that for 15 years and then you decide I want to become a teacher.
Right.
So you're in NICERS while you're working with MTA, and you would join the teacher's retirement system when you became a teacher. Now you have two choices when you do that. One is in the new plan, you could start from scratch and have one pension plan with teacher's retirement system, let's say, and the other pension plan with NICERS, and you collect them both. But generally speaking, it's better to have one big pension than two little pensions. So what many people will do, especially if you're going internally, New York City and New York State, um, is they'll transfer their membership from one system into the other one and just keep on going with that.
Right.
And
So
so, yeah.
yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
No, no,
So
that's pretty much it.
yeah, because I actually I know somebody who did just that, but the reverse. They came from teachers to MTA.
Right.
So I think that'll be a question that he'll be highly interested. But what if you leave the city agency altogether and then go into the private sector
Right.
and right like
Nothing. So once you move into, you could go work for another state, or you go into private. Nothing matters, right? Your pension is basically put on hold until you want to come and collect it.
okay. Does it? I mean, they can't just like make it disappear after a
Oh
certain
no no
amount
no
of
no no
time. Okay, like
no. So
get it.
let's say you did, let's say you did 25 years and you're 50, right? And you can't collect until 55, but you want to keep working, so you go into private industry. You could work for 5 years in private industry, and then when you hit 55 and you want to start collecting your pension, you file your retirement application with NICERS. They start processing you, and you start collecting your pension and your city retiree health benefits at that moment in time, and you got a private gig going as well.
Okay, all right. So we can move on.
All right. So the contribution rates, that one of the things that got changed for members of NICER didn't get changed for teachers, is these contribution rates. So the old contribution rates got broken down. If you made 45 grand a year or less, between 45 and 55, so on and so forth. You all can read, so I'm not going to read it to you. But so you can see there's five bands. It goes from 3% all the way to 6%. So once you start making more than $100,000 a year in your base salary, you're kicking in 6% to TRS. Or, well, that's the TRS contribution rate. I
Yeah.
didn't change that from my old slide. I'm sorry about that. That's the
Sorry.
general contribution rate for everybody.
Mhm.
Um, The new contribution rates, which affect everybody but TRS members, is now it's 4 bands,
Mm.
and it's a lot more favorable to you because you're holding on to more of your money. So the 6% maximum contribution rate is gone. You top off at 575, and that's only if you make 125, more than 125.
Mm.
So if you made the 100,000, and I think I have, yeah, this slide here, right? So these are 4 different salaries, right? So if these are your base salaries, the old rate, so if you were making 75 grand a year, the old rate was 4.5%. That would cost you a little over $3,300 a year into your pension fund to fund it. The new rate is 3%, not 4.5. So you're only putting in 2250, and you're saving about a little more than $1,000 a year that you can do something with, whether
Right.
that keep it, whether that's save it, whether that's spend it, whatever you want. It's money in your pocket that isn't required to go into the pension fund anymore. Um, if you're making 100,000, the old rate was 5.25, the new rate's 4, so you're saving 1750 a year, right? Home, and you can see, and then once you get a little bit higher, the savings kind of drops a little bit because the change between the old one and the new one isn't as big.
Okay.
And because I'm a nerd like that, I want to show you. I want to show you like how important it is that even though you'd be like, if you looked at the old one, you were like, big deal. I'm only saving $1,000 over the course of the year, right? If you took $500 that you would normally put into the pension fund and invested it and got a return of 5%, 20 years later, you'd have over 16 grand in that account, right? Took that $500 and instead of putting it into the pension fund, put $500 a year into something that grew 5%. If it was making 7%, you'd have over 20 grand. And if you got, invested it in something that got 10%, now you're talking about over 28 grand, almost 29 grand, money that would have gone to the pension fund that you
Yes.
never would have seen any personal benefit from, now throws you money that you can do something with.
Mm.
You bump that up to 25 years, right? Now you're up to like almost $24,000 or $32,000 or almost $50,000 if you took that money and for 25 years didn't give it to the pension fund and invested it in the market or wherever that you felt comfortable, doing. That's a decent chunk of change that you can do something with down the road that you wouldn't have had that money to do that.
Right. I was wondering, like, where can you go to put that money that it will make that it'll come back and give you 10%? Because I'm like, I've never seen anything remotely close to that when it comes to them, giving you percentage back.
So I mean, the stock market right now is, generally doing very, very well. And so the historical S&P 500 average, which is one of the um, kind of general funds that you can kind of put your money in,
Right.
just there's the Dow, the Russell 3000, Nasdaq.
Okay.
You could put your money in, or you could get a mutual fund that gets a return. And if you can get a return of 5, 7, 10%, you're gonna do all right. Obviously, it's gonna go up and down. It's not gonna be a straight, right? But if the annual return kind of evens out to be that, you're looking pretty good.
Yeah, because I have I have this app called Robinhood. I don't know if you ever heard
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that.
yeah. I know.
Yeah, so and I've seen like their percentage rates. I don't think I see anything higher than 3%.
Yeah.
So, but what I like about that, even though this is way off topic, is with Robinhood you could just invest between, if you have $1,000 or you have $5, you can
Yeah,
invest.
yeah, yeah.
So that's why I like it, because I'm a little guy. So I don't invest that much. But even there, I'm like 3%. I think they might offer a little higher percentage if you join their gold package. But
Right.
I don't remember. I'm trying to look now, but yeah, of course, it's not telling. I don't want to look. Numbers look red, so I'm turning it off. But yeah, I'm sorry. That was kind of off topic. I just
Yeah,
wanted
no
to,
worries.
because I never seen. I've always seen between 1.5% and like I said, 3% is always the highest. I've never seen anything near 5 or 10%.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think,
there's
but
plenty of different investment vehicles, and I'm not a financial
yeah,
analyst. And you take what I say with a grain of salt, but there's a lot of different investment opportunities that the regular person can just go on in and say, "Oh, I want to put in something with Fidelity, or I want to put in something with Vanguard, or Ameritrade, or Schwab, or whatever," and you can kind of pick and choose how risky you want to be, and
right,
hope that it pays off for you down the road.
okay,
So
yeah.
I know some people, not people I work with as teachers, but I know some people make decent money out there in the world, and they're like, "Oh, I put money in this, and it doubled inside of 5 years or something like that." Not one of those people, but it happens.
Yeah, it does. And then, like, I wish I knew. I would have joined you.
Yeah,
Okay,
but yeah.
let's
So
move
those are
on.
my slides. So I just wanted to.
So we had. Okay, cool. All right. Whenever you're ready.
All right. Yeah, that's it. Those are them.
Those are them. Okay. All right. So look, man, I've learned a lot today. Um, my audience is pretty quiet. They're probably taking notes or something. But yeah, I mean, it's always been a thing about tier 6 that I was just like, I really don't know what else we could do other than going to Albany, because I always understood it to be system wide. It wasn't just the MTA getting tier
Yeah,
six. That it was everybody who was getting
yeah,
tier 6, and so they kind of enrolled everybody into that. And I'm like, okay, I guess if that's what the city has to do for whatever reason, then is what has to be done. But since I heard that it didn't necessarily have to go that way,
yeah.
but
Cuomo went super hard. In fact, he even admitted like a year or so ago that he overstepped. Like he said they should roll back some of the things that he pushed for in tier 6 because
mhm.
we kind of weathered that financial storm as a city, as a country, as a state, and that it's time to make tier 6 better. Now I don't know if he really meant that or he was just trying to get elected mayor, but that's another story.
I kind of feel like he was just trying to get real, because those people at the top like that, they never admit to any mistakes that they make.
Right.
They double down, triple down until the wheels fall off. They, like, even right now we have a problem between the union for MTA and the retirees of MTA when it comes to the medical. And what they did was they auto enrolled them into this Medicare Advantage, which is
Oh yeah, yeah.
diminishing, in medical services. But for them to say, you know what, we made a mistake, we're going to work on it, it's just not happening. So it's a whole big thing. That's a whole nother story. I know right now a lot of my viewers just rolled their eyes in the back of their head because I'm always speaking about it. I know they tired of hearing it, but I'm gonna keep saying it until it actually changes. But yeah, David, listen, I appreciate you coming on, man. This has been very, very educational for me. I got a better understanding, and I hope you guys got a better understanding of what's going down with tier 6. Again, when they go to Albany to fight for tier 6, pack those buses, man, because those are the ones who have to change. It's not just
Yeah,
going to come
they're the
from
only
nobody.
one.
Yeah, it's not going to come from nobody. And here you got a man who knows exactly what tier 6 is about. He took the time out to come and explain it to you guys. I hope you guys learned something today. And yeah, let's go next.
Let's go next. Next and four.
Yes, sir. Hey, David, I appreciate your time, man. Um, it was very, again, very educational for me. And Hopefully, oh look, my sister just texted me. You're late, sis. Sorry. It's all good though. But guys, appreciate David. Appreciate you coming on. I'm
Thanks for
gonna
having
end
me.
it. Yeah, I'm gonna end it so I can go cook for this next game.
Absolutely.
This I
I'm gonna have some
appreciate.
Applebee's before the next game.
All right, guys. So guys, thank you for watching. Appreciate you could have been anywhere in the world. You chose to be here, and I appreciate that. David, any last words?
Just keep fighting to make changes to tier 6. It can happen. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but don't give up. Just keep pushing.
That's right. So you hear that, people? And remember, fuck them if they can't take a joke. Later, guys. Don't hang out, David.
All right.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.